I heard God speak very, very clear to me, and it wasn't anything of hyperbole or exaggeration or anything that I believe I heard. It was very, very clear. I heard the Holy Spirit tell me that they are after our children. And it was in reference to the way our world is moving and how the enemy is currently not waiting for our kids to get to high school or college. He's trying to get them in the womb. He's trying to get them while they are infants. He's trying to find ways to prevent them from living or walking in their purpose for God. And I want to share with you ways for us to protect our kids, what steps you can take in order for you to make sure our kids are safe. Because the enemy is at a place right now where he's desperate. He understands that his time is short. He understands that God is coming back very soon. So right now he's in like desperate mode, right? And he's sitting here and he's really going after our kids. I heard a report over the week that 20,000 children were kidnapped in Ukraine by the Russians during this war. 20,000 children. I don't want to go on a new tangent about child trafficking, etc., because I believe that is rampant and that is an issue that is far grander that we need to be talking about. But it highlights how the enemy is desperate for our children. I was listening to a podcast about this woman. Her first name is Jessie, and I don't want to mispronounce her last name, but I'll put the podcast in my description, where she talks about her life as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, how she was in the hands of the enemy and him trying to control her life. So these things years later is evident, and God has been saying and been drilling in my heart to pray for children. I've been praying for the kids in my church, kids in my family, praying for kids all across the world, because the enemy is desperate and he's after our children. He's doing whatever he can to get our kids out of purpose. He's doing whatever he can for our kids not to be even born. He's doing whatever he can to prevent our children from even being at a place where they're doing what God has called them to do. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm sitting here watching. I'm just watching the world. My son went to soccer practice, and he's 4, so he just started soccer. But then I watched the other kids around him. I'm like, yo, something is off. There was one girl that kept throwing herself on the floor. Another kid that just basically sat here and was trying to tear his jersey off. Another kid was sitting here crying about everything. I'm blessed that my child was out there playing and doing things that a normal kid does, but just to see so many kids that, my spiritual antenna was up, like, wow, these children are under attack, and he's starting early. So I think it's important, it's crucial for us to be careful and to understand what time that we're living in. Mothers, fathers, y'all need to be praying for y'all kids. This ain't the time to play around. This ain't the time to mess about. You shouldn't have time to gossip or time to wait. You should be in constant prayer for your children. The enemy is not waiting. Like, I'm at a point in my life now that when I see my son, I drop my son off, I pray over him, and when he comes back, I thank God that he's okay with these school shootings, with bullying. I want to be involved and know what they're teaching him. This indoctrination that's going on. That I'm grateful that my 10-year-old is able to leave for school and come back safely. These things that we would take for granted are things now that our children are experiencing. I want to share a clip with you. In this clip, it kind of also shows one of the things that kids are going through is this issue of gender affirmation. And during the most recent Republican debate, Vivek mentioned that, what he thought about gender affirmation.
I have to be very clear about this. Transgenderism, especially in kids, is a mental health disorder. We have to acknowledge the truth of that for what it is. I met two young women early in this campaign.
Specifically on parental rights in schools.
Parents have the right to know. And you know what the hypocrisy of this is? Even New Hampshire failed to actually get past a piece of legislation here. The very people who say that this increases the risk of suicide are also the ones saying that parents don't have the right to know about that increased risk of suicide. And I'm sorry, it is not compassionate to affirm a kid's confusion. That is not compassion, that is cruelty. I met two young women, Chloe and Katie, early in this campaign, who are in their 20s, now regret getting double mastectomies and a hysterectomy. One of them will never have children. And the fact that we allowed that to happen in this country is barbaric. So I will ban genital mutilation or chemical castration under the...
As you can see, like, he hit it right on the head. This is a mental issue. To think that a 4-year-old has enough common sense and knowledge and wisdom to change his or her gender, right? For you to think it's okay for a kid to do such behavior, and for a kid to want to have to do this, he considers it mental illness. Me personally, it's a spiritual attack. But it's not to downplay the mental issue, but I believe it's a mental issue and a spiritual issue. It's a mental issue and a demonic attack that many of our kids are facing and are being introduced to in school, TikTok, Instagram, other friends. So these are the things that I think that we have to talk about. These are the things that is happening in our world. These are the things that my spiritual eyes is seeing, and I need for you to see. So here are three ways for you to be able to thwart the attack of the enemy. These are the three things that I'm applying into my life, into my household. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. These are three things that you can apply today that can help you in this fight against the enemy for your children. Number one, prayer. It sounds simple. It sounds a basic thing. It's like a passive thing, but prayer is your biggest tool. The biggest tool that you have in this fight. I know that they're trying to outlaw prayer out of school, but my prayers go into my son's school. I know my prayers are going wherever they go because the enemy cannot have my children. The enemy will not touch my children. They may have school shootings everywhere else, but because of prayer, my son's school is covered. And I believe that. And every single parent, auntie, uncle should have the same belief and the same prayer life. So we have to pray. We have to understand this is our biggest tool in this spiritual war. And what prayer does as well, it invites God into the battle. It is saying, God, listen, here is my son. I'm not there, but God, he's yours. You gave him to me. God, I need your help. I need your help raising this boy. He's a teenager. He don't want to listen to me. God, I need your help. And God will come down. So the important thing about prayer is not only does it follow your kids and it has a powerful and offensive purpose, but it also allows you to give ownership to God and invite God into your parenting life. We cannot be successful parents by ourselves. We cannot be successful parents without God. So it is crucial for us to understand the power we have in prayer. Number two, speak to your kids. We are so busy that we are failing to spend time with our kids. Make sure you talk to them, have conversations. How was your day? Let's go out for ice cream. Learn who your kids are. They have feelings. If you pry and talk enough to them, they'll tell you how they're feeling. They'll tell you what they are going through. And know your kids. By spending time with your kids, what you do is you can also identify the nonverbal cues that something is wrong. And we are so busy, and what we do is basically we say, hey, teacher, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, you basically, it's your job to sit here and to teach my kids. When they come home, they're on the iPad for the entire day, and then they go to bed, rinse and repeat. Where do you fit in? Where do you educate your kids? Where do you see how they are feeling? Where do you guys have a conversation? I think it's important for us to spend time with our kids. I know we're busy. We're all busy. But we have to make it a priority. Even a half hour a day, even on the ride to school and the ride back, talk to your kids. How was your day? What'd you learn today? What's going on? Because we cannot rely on social media to raise our kids, because they will raise our kids for us, but they will indoctrinate them with all this negative and demonic agenda. And this will lead them to be depressed and have mental issues and to be sad and to be oppressed. It's not the devil simply, but it's us being at a place where we are sitting here and we are not active in our children's lives. I don't care if they're 2, spend time with your kids. These things have lasting impacts in their lives. We have to be intentional. Block out your calendar. When you come home, get off your TikTok, get off that work call, get off that cell phone and talk to your kids. Because these things are valuable. These things will create the foundation. This will give us an opportunity to thwart any negative demonic agenda that's being introduced to them. So make sure you spend time with your kids. Make sure you are active and involved in your children's life. Just because they're in your home does not mean that you're active and involved. This is an intentional process where you're there for their soccer games, where you introduce them to different activities, you support them, and you find out how they're doing, and you give them feedback. You go over their homework. You go to parent-teacher conferences and see what kind of vibe the teacher is giving you. These things are crucial. The enemy is busy, so it's time for us to be just as busy. Number 3, perform a social media audit. If your child is on social media, make sure you audit what they're watching. What I like to do on TikTok, and my 10-year-old son's on TikTok. What I like to do is I like to often go through his history, see what he's watching, and then go in his TikTok for like a few hours and change his algorithm. So I like video game stuff. I like things 10-year-olds should like, sports stuff, whatever that may be, just to kind of offset the garbage that's being sent to them. I want to reset their algorithm so they are exposed more so to things they should be at 10 years old. Because if not, then they're going to be exposed to all kind of things. So it's my job to go through their likes and unlike certain things and tell them I'm doing this and say, hey, you should not be too many curses. This is girls twerking. You should not be watching this. So that they know, even in my absence, they know they shouldn't be watching this stuff. Even when they're around their friends at school and they're watching these things, my kids have the foundation where they know that they cannot be doing these things. So you have to, if they're not on social media, do you know who their friends are? Do you know who they are? Like, do you know who they hang out with? Because their friends spend more time with them than we do. And it's okay to say, you know what? I don't want you hanging out with this person. It's okay to say, you and this person can't be cool because this person is doing something. I don't like what he's talking about. He's too old to be your friend. You have to be aware of your friend's friend. And if you hear someone on speaker, hear anyone on that headset on FaceTime that you don't know, ask questions and control, because the way the enemy affects the mind is through information. And this information is introduced and through friends often. One thing I want to add, don't watch horror movies. You can do all that stuff for social media, but if you don't sit there and audit what they watch on TV, such as horror movies, that is just as harmful than something on TikTok. In my house, we do not watch horror movies. Not at all. Because these things are portals to the enemy from to have access in their lives. And I want to add an extra one. For those who are expecting moms, and it sounds very superstitious. I explain to you why I use this point. Be careful who you let touch your stomach. I've heard too many stories of people that were assigned to cause miscarriages, where they would touch the belly button, and by touching the belly button, that was a way for them to access the child in a womb and to harm oppress, and possess children while in your womb. I know I sound real old school, real Haitian. I know I sound real over spiritual. I'm telling you what I've heard. I heard a story of a woman who used to work for the devil, who was a Satanist, and her job in church was to cause miscarriages and to possess children while in the womb. And she used the example of John the Baptist and Jesus. While Elizabeth, the mother of John, was carrying him, and then Mary walked in the room while she was pregnant with Jesus, the baby in the womb, John, leapt because he came in contact with Christ, right? That's Bible. And she said, so don't you think if that could happen, then our spirits can also affect kids in the womb? When I heard that, I was like, yo, that's crazy. So be careful, especially expectant mothers who is around you and around who was trying to get close to you and who's trying to touch you and maybe affect your unborn child. I'm not here to create paranoia and saying I ain't gonna have no friends. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying use wisdom. I'm saying use discernment, because a lot of times these things are occurring and it's dangerous, and it's the enemy trying to find a way to access this next generation. He is not waiting for them to get to high school. He's trying to get them in the womb. So if you are an expectant mother, be careful who touches your stomach. Be careful who is around you, because a lot of these times these people are assigned to kill off a generation in the womb. So we have to be wise. We have to be careful. But ultimately, I want to just bring it full circle. The devil's after our children. The Holy Spirit clearly told me the devil is after our children. And it's time for us to be on the offensive. It's time for us to be vigilant in prayer. It's time for us to be active and present in our children's lives. It is crucial. It's time for us to be at a place where we're standing in a gap for our kids and declare the enemy can't have my son. The enemy can't have my daughter. The enemy can't have my nieces and nephews. We have to declare that and believe it and do our part. I pray that this blesses you. I pray this informed you. Do not be afraid. Do not worry. God's on our side. Just know what tools we have. It's time for you to get busy. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. I love you. Don't forget to like and subscribe this. Share it with a friend. If you know someone that's pregnant, share this with her. If you know some parents who are going through some stuff, share this with them. I pray that everybody can glean something out of this. Because as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. God bless you. I love you guys. Peace.